I motion that we start the meeting, the time being 6:01. And then we have the, we need to do that first thing, the public hearing. Yes. Go ahead.
Sure.
So this part is just a hearing to discuss the purpose of the budget revisions, and then later in the regular meeting, you guys will approve that or not, I guess.
So for the benefit of those who are watching either here or at home, each December, school districts may be required to revise their budget for several reasons. And one of the most common reasons is a significant change in their average daily membership, which drives the general budget limits. And Joseph City doesn't always hit that threshold. This year we did. And so that's the purpose of the budget revision, is to revise it for that. In our case, a decrease in enrollment in average daily membership. And our enrollment did drop from it dropped about 20
students?
About 21 students, or about 4.5%, which, by the way, is above the state average. And there are several things that would lead to that. One of those, obviously, is just students not coming back after COVID, doing homeschool or whatever. Another thing that is part of that decrease in ADM is the number of distance learning students we have, because they don't get quite counted as quite a full ADM. There's a little bit of a reduction there when they're doing distance learning, and so that will also cause that to drop. Now,
did they change that? Because I thought originally we asked about that, if the distance learning was going to affect that.
Yeah, and I thought
I thought that originally they said no.
Well,
that they were going to be counted as being in school, and that would not affect our funding.
And then this was like a hold harmless year.
Yeah. So let me keep going here, and it kind of yes and no. And one of the things that they're doing to make up for that decrease is some of the federal COVID money that we're getting to our state is being allocated to school districts in the form of what they call an enrollment stabilization grant. So they're offsetting some of that decrease. And most of our decrease is actually students that dropped. It's not, there's just a very little bit of it that would be for other reasons. So kind of the end story here is that our total general budget limit, adopted budget limit, was $5,242,903. The revised budget limit is $4,953,980, or a decrease of $288,923. However,
that's different than what I'm reading. So which one are you?
That's line 1, 2, 3, 4 down there on it.
Okay, I see where you're at now. All right.
Yeah. So
he was reading that.
Thank you.
So the good news is that Joseph City is in a very good place right now, budget-wise, because some of that, $167,000 of that decrease will be offset by the enrollment stability grant. But they just announced, maybe within the last week, that they just processed everybody's enrollment numbers and what their enrollment stability grant funding allocation would be, and they don't have enough money to make up for 100% of that loss across the state. So it's not covering all of it.
So that
However-
$167,000 is already factored into this 280,000?
No, not yet. No. That's not all final yet. And that, when we revise our budget the enrollment stability grant, the way we utilize that is basically that money all has really been spent. Now we just have to go back and do journal entries to allocate that money, and we have to have those all done by December 31st. And so that's kind of what we're doing right now is doing those journal entries to move expenditures out of M&O and into the enrollment stability grant. And so that change, that budget revision will happen on our next budget revision, which happens in May of 2021. So that's part of it. There's also other coronavirus federal funds that are helping somewhat, but that's all, that's still in process, and so we don't know exactly how much of that will help M&O, but a good chunk of it will. Another thing that will help offset that decrease for us is we have an unused budget balance carry forward from last year because of the school closure. Basically March through the end of the school year, there was some savings, things that we didn't spend money on it that will be carry forward to this year. We typically don't incorporate that into our revised budget until the May revision in this coming May. We don't know how much that is until usually October. So we have to adopt the budget.
So we don't know how much our carryover is from 19 to 20 until October of 21?
Correct. No, until October of 20.
So we should know what our carryover is right now.
Yeah, we do know what it is. Now, pretty close. I mean, we still got to do, some final work on that, but so that budget adjustment will happen in May. But we know what it is, and between all that, that will. And then, of course, the other thing that puts us in a really good place is our M&O override that went into effect this year. So that decrease will be offset. By the time it's offset with these other funding sources, and then that revision will happen. So it's reflected in our budget that is adopted. Revised rather in May of next year, May of 2021.
Do you know what our carryover is from 19 to 20?
It's going to be about $250,000 thereabouts. That's an approximate number. I don't have the exact number in front of me.
Is it on this report anywhere?
No.
No, it's a zero.
Every time you click that, Mike makes
Okay,
the last meeting.
on the expenditure side, where we reflected this change, at least temporarily until we revise it back up again, is in classroom instruction, salaries and benefits, just because that's where the bulk of the money is, and just for accounting simplicity. We took it out of there, we'll put it back in there, in our working budget, and then in our actual adopted or revised budget in May.
Is the 21 kids, is that kids that actually have not enrolled, or does that include the kids that are distant learning?
That's kids that are not enrolled.
So it doesn't include the distant
We
learning
changed from
kids.
21, we dropped 21 students.
Yes.
Not gained.
Right, and that's in, you've got those numbers in that, the business manager report that comes in was attached under the superintendent's report. There's a little chart.
But we are getting credit for the distance learners, right?
Yes,
Because
But not full credit.
not full credit. It's like 95%.
That's
or
news to
something.
me as well, just for full disclosure here. I wasn't aware of that. It's a funding formula, evidently.
Yeah.
And he's been to some training on this. So it's how they're funding it, I guess. What about the schools that are only doing virtual? Same thing, they're in the same boat. Yeah. I don't think it's probably much different.
No,
It's not that
no, it's just,
significant.
I think it's like 5% difference or something. I can't remember the exact number.
So in previous years, has it changed a lot recently? In previous years, I was under the impression, I could be wrong, that a student was approximately worth to the school between $5,000 and $6,000, but this adds up to about $11,000.
That's about what a student is worth to us, yeah.
11,000?
Depending
Let's
on,
get out and get some more of them.
depending on the student, because the formula is different if they have different needs, like if they're in kindergarten or they're a senior.
Right.
And they're special ed or autistic or whatever.
But on average, 11,000, looking at it, if you do the math.
Yeah.
I understood our enrollment was up this year from previous years. That's why we
It may have been when we started, when we projected,
Yeah.
because I remember seeing some numbers.
Saying that we were going to
Because
be
we added
about
some
the same.
classes.
So I
To the high
think if
school.
we were to pull them from August to now, things have probably changed.
When we prepared our budget for adoption back in May of last year, yeah, we used those numbers.
So we have, and this isn't unique to us. This is a problem throughout the state. And like, one thing I'm aware of is the Arizona Rural Schools Association is upset with kind of some of the issues with the funding and how the budgets are looking after enrollment. So other districts are losing enrollment. I don't know where he has heard that ours is a little bit higher than other districts. A lot of people are doing like these programs online that aren't associated
Right.
with or
A
home.
lot of it out of the parents.
Yeah.
They
or
just
home-
have to do it all online.
Right. So that's throughout the state. And there are some people that are, concerned big time about this. Where this could really hit our budget is next year, I think, if without all these extra things they're throwing at us to compensate. So depending on
But
where.
won't the money we spent, no matter where it came from, doesn't that affect the money we get next year?
Our enrollment will affect the money we get next year. So this money, we got to be kind of smart how we use it and save it, I think.
How many students are from the elementary from the beginning to now?
I've made a note to find that out. I can't give you that number right now.
They stay close on this, so it's just a matter of a report we could pull up.
Well,
It's later in the report. It shows the high
It's
school
it's
being
in our
positive
report.
7, and it shows
I can get it for you here.
28
If you look at the page.
approximately.
In the,
Something like that, roughly. High school up being 7 and the elementary being down 28, something like that, roughly.
From the beginning of the school year.
so this shows.
We got it.
There's a report that was, graph that's in your backup. It was sent to you, and it's by, the groups. There's kindergarten, grades 1 through 5, 6 and 8, 9 through 12. Oh, that's the typo.
So, Mr. Hutchins, from 173 to 154.
In the grades 1 through 5.
That's what we've dropped.
This is what's,
Yeah.
not quite 20, it's
Is it
19,
because of
18
COVID?
students.
And that's as of November 19th that I put together.
Don't click that, the mic picks it up.
About 18 students. And then kindergarten also dropped
Yeah, our kindergarten class is
5
smaller.
students.
Kindergarten is a little bit smaller this year.
They're not funded as a full student, how the state does it, but, and then 19, so that's quite a bit. We increased it at the high school, as you can see on these numbers.
Yeah.
High school increased by 4, junior high about even, but it looks like the elementary has lost some.
Hutchins, is it from COVID?
I don't know. Like I'm
Some is
saying,
homes- This could change by the end of the year.
there's a few that have homeschooled, but I'd have to look at it case by case before I could actually make a statement as to what's going on.
And it could change, like the kids, they come and go sometimes, depending on jobs and everything that's going on. So that's what makes it kind of tough.
We this is a public hearing, so we need to listen.
Yeah, if anybody has a comment
If
from
the
the
public has a
public,
comment, this is a time to make that.
the board, and we can discuss it more in the regular meeting.
Okay. I motion that we close the
Okay,
public
call.
meeting.
We should call. Is there any comment?
I asked.
Did you? Okay, sorry.
Wait a second. So I motion that we close the public hearing meeting and go into our regular meeting, starting at 6:17. Roll call.
Mr. Place?
Here.
Mr. Larson?
Here.
Mrs. Robertson?
Present.
Mr. Bushman?
Here.
Mr. Place?
Here.
Mr. Fields?
Here.
Move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have any volunteers to lead us?
One more time.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have the invocation. Do you have any volunteers?
I will.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this evening. Thank thee for the opportunity we have of serving our community and serving the students of our school. We ask thee that thy spirit might attend us, that we might be able to make wise decisions that will reflect what our community wants and also what is best for our students. We thank thee again for being able to live in this country and the freedoms that it allows us. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second it.
Do we have anything that needs looked at? Okay, call for the vote. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Yours.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the November 10th, 2020 regular board meeting.
I'll second it.
Call for the vote. Myself, yes. Eldon?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Abstain?
Andrew?
Yes.
Dayton?
Yes. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the October 13th, 2020 executive session.
I'll second it.
Call for the vote. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yeah.
Eldon?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Move on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Fields?
Yes, thank you. I do have a few things to cover, but for starters, the district, including the governing board and office staff, to the trouble of getting this nice plaque for someone who's going to be leaving us here. And I wanted to take the opportunity to say just a few nice things about her. As you all know, Captain Mitchell has submitted a letter of resignation to the district. She's worked here for over 33 years now, and it's just been a wonderful employee. She's had dedicated service, and this is one of the things we're going to do for her. We also have a reception planned later. Kathy, come up here, if you would. How about a big round of applause? Thank you. Yes, that's a nice plaque. All right. While you're up here, so we have a come and go reception on December 17th in the afternoon. 33 years of dedicated service. She's given so much to this district. I expect a lot of people are going to stop by and thank her on that Thursday. That's a Thursday afternoon. I think it's 1 to 4.
1:30 to 4:30.
1:30 to 4:30. And she's just done a wonderful job. I think the things she's done is we're going to be having results, and it's an impact, a legacy that's going to last long after she leaves us here. And hopefully she comes back and helps us as a sub and in any other way she has time for. I'm sure she's been ready to move on to some different things. So I don't know if the board wants to say anything to express your appreciation to her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. It's been nice to be able to come into the office and work with you the last 8 years plus, even when I was a teacher and working with you.
Everything's really changed from when I first, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Technology was.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone does, so he wants another picture.
That's the worst thing of anything like this, having to take all the pictures.
I've learned a lot from her, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to some of the items on my report. If I could just bring your attention to a few things. One of the first things you probably want to know about is our COVID situation or the things we're dealing with COVID on. So last week, the county, or actually the state, released their metrics for each county, and it's the highest that they're in substantial in all three categories. And when you're in substantial at all three categories, the AZ Department of Health, they recommend that schools go virtual. However, our county has said they want to have those metrics in substantial for 2 weeks straight. So by Thursday, we'll know if the county is recommending, basically, if we're in all three categories for substantial, we'll know if we get a recommendation to do virtual only. So that's what we're looking at. And just for your information, you've seen I send out a weekly communication on where our COVID numbers are, and students handle these symptoms a lot different than I think other people that are older than them. And so what I'm counting here is basically if a student belongs to a household that has a case or a assumed case. And this week already, this is Tuesday, and we have 10 or 11 students. It's the highest week of students that are in households with these cases of COVID. So they don't come to school when they have these cases. But I just thought that it hit Monday. I'm getting messages from the county, telling us the cases. So our cases have gone up, or at least the ones that have been tested. So if that means anything, that's what that is.
One thing I did notice though is you can look up, I don't know if you know that, you can look up by zip code what the cases are, and Joe City is actually quite a bit lower percentage-wise than anybody around. Snowflake is up in like the 24-25% range. Hebrew Overguard was up like 45-48%. We were at 13.
Wow.
So we're actually quite a bit lower than anybody around us, including Winslow, Holbrook.
Is that the one where they do cases per 100,000?
That's the one. Yeah, and they also look at, so it was from the last week of November, how many new cases you had over the last 2 weeks, and it was up 13%. But we were one of the lower ones, zip codes of the whole state.
Wow.
So
That's interesting. Yeah, some of our cases are students that don't belong to our zip code, But an interesting thing, so I was in a town hall with the Winslow Indian Health Center a couple weeks ago, and we had the highest out of Winslow, Holbrook. And the reason you'll see these fluctuate, and you'll also see it when you talk percentages with the budget, is we're so small. So that's why they do them per 100,000. So when you multiply Joseph, we don't have 100,000 people in our, so it kind of looks maybe worse than it is in some cases. And that's just what it is. But now it sounds like it's better. 2-3 weeks ago, whenever that was, it was much worse.
yeah, if you go to the state and then you can look them up by zip code and then you compare to the zip codes around us because it has the town names, we're lower than everybody else around us. We're lower than a lot of people in the state.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. So we'll see. I think we'll probably be in substantial again come Thursday, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. You know, I think we all probably agree that we'd like to stay in session until the break. It doesn't serve anything good unless we have, you know, a major issue with staff leaving or something of that nature. I think it makes sense to hold tight, and I'll talk to the county public health
We
director.
only have the rest of this week and one more week.
Yeah. So we're in testing, we're doing these things.
Then you have a 2-week break.
Yeah.
So
So that's our plan, but it could be some discussions or things happening by Thursday. So you have my written report. I can discuss anything on there that you'd like. We're advertising for Kathy's position. Waiting till we have a pool of applicants that we can interview before we start that, hopefully soon. You have, as part of my report, some information from our principals as well are on there. And Mr. Miller couldn't make it tonight, and I excused him from attendance. I'll try and answer anything you might have directed specifically to his campus. Mr. Hutchins is here, and he can, if you have questions, now would be a good time. And also we have some budget information under my report. This, you know, if you look through that and you have any questions on that, this would also be a good time to discuss that. And, you know, at the risk of taking up too much time, I think I'll stop there unless you have questions, and then.
I had one quick one. So it's interesting that the winter sports are practicing, even though they can't play till January. But junior high is not. What was the turning point on that? I mean, I'm just curious.
Yes, sir. Volleyball is actually played tonight against Mogollon here, and they're playing against junior high volleyball is playing Thursday night against Show here.
But no parents were allowed in the
No
game.
fans. No
So the junior high volleyball is playing.
Junior high volleyball is playing.
Okay.
Correct. So they'll finish their season. The White Mountain League championship was supposed to be this weekend anyway, and junior high basketball is supposed to start Monday, which will start on time. So we felt comfortable with that. Junior high wrestling was an issue.
Just to the nature of the sport.
No, actually, because of me. The AIA's guidelines said that the original guidelines that came out said that I wasn't allowed to work with high school wrestlers and a second group like the junior high. And so, with the situation of other schools, the White Mountain League not wrestling, we didn't have a lot of options for wrestling for them, and so we decided to go ahead and move forward with that. My plan right now is to do an intramural or a club type of thing after high school wrestling is over, to give those kids a chance to get in the room and work on skills. But we did have options for getting the girls' junior high volleyball team matches.
That's interesting.
How will that work with junior high track? Because junior high track is during that period of time. So would they have to choose one?
No, junior high track is after junior high basketball.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I would do it intramural, like an open gym, like 6 o'clock at night or something.
Okay.
So they could do, I would
they could
definitely
still-
encourage them to participate in their sport, the in-season
Okay.
sport. We've been off-season, extra opportunity for some of those kids. And the initial ones might be that we go with the younger kids, and so I'm still working out with Mr. Miller, getting guidance on what he thinks that should look like. The only other thing I'll throw out there is the Sports Advisory Committee, Medical Advisory Committee, actually had a unique take on wrestling. That because of the way we've set it up for high school, since they only get one match a day, they're only exposed to one person from the other school in the evening. So the Sports Medical Advisory Committee is actually fairly comfortable with wrestling moving forward because of the lack of exposure and because it's just one person at a time. So we are looking good there, and we're looking good for having a state tournament as well.
Interesting.
So those winter sports can't officially start their seasons until January 5th.
Right.
They can do some practice and things like that prior to.
Any other questions for Mr. Fields or the principals?
I'll skip my call to the public. Before, in the last meeting, our major concern was teachers. And I think that's going to be the major impact. Kids can learn from home, but if we don't have teachers to do it. And how's that situation, I might ask?
Yeah, sure. It looks good right now. So it cleared up a couple weeks ago. We did have, I think, I emailed the update to you guys. I think it was like 3 or 4 staff out with either suspected COVID or they were actually tested. But now, as of last week, we didn't really have a lot of those people that were sick were coming back, and this week, nothing. So we're good as of right now. It could change pretty quick, you know, but that's where we stand right now. Staffing is holding tight. Good, thankfully, because we don't have a lot of substitutes.
Okay. So,
Before we move on, I wanted to ask about this gender neutral restrooms.
Sure.
Are we looking into some grants? Because I would think there would be money out there.
Yeah, if
are we even looking at doing it?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because it is something that people are, I guess, bringing back up.
As I say, we
throughout
had
the
this
country.
like 2 or 3 years ago brought up.
Yeah. So, it's not, and Joseph City, I'm willing to bet it's probably had the issues that weren't highly publicized or whatever, and they've accommodated things that, they have to for students that we always have. And I would hope that we always will. Now, what I was referring to in here is some kind of mandate by the federal government. There is a possibility with new administration that something could be forced upon schools, and if that happens, hopefully funding would be made available. But until that happens,
I just don't want us being forced to do something and not plan for it. Because you and I both know that can cost, just like getting the entryway to the elementary school, the NRA paid for the majority of that, and that's how we were able to do it.
yeah, absolutely, I agree. But we are planning on saving funds. I hate to say that we're saving specifically to convert our restrooms because I don't think there's a real need for us right now. But I don't know if that satisfies the answer or not. Hopefully, if they do push something like that, we try to accommodate students. And if it takes remodeling, we'll remodel. We could probably do it without any remodeling if we just, what it's going to come down to is single, doors on single stalls, basically, I think, eventually, probably after.
Well, my question, I realize when you're in class and you only have X amount of time going from class to class, or sometimes the teachers don't want to let the kids out of class to go to the restroom. But don't we have enough restrooms that if we had to do that, we could actually just turn some restrooms
I
in
think so.
that we have
Yeah, I think we could.
at both campuses?
Probably.
Any other things? So we don't need to do the call to the public. I motion that we go into executive session to review the evaluation of the superintendent.
I'll second.
That's okay.
I think so.
Okay,
Good time.
the time is
6:35.
6:35. We have to vote on it though, right?
To go into executive session.
Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Eldon?
Is.
Okay.
Stay tuned in, those at home.
Hmm?
See how long everybody stays tuned in at home. They can go back and watch later.
Yeah. I could do that. Look, I like to give my kids.
So you caught me on the prayer. I referred to my football system, I standing for the prayer.
So you have to motion that we go reconvene.
As long as it gets back.
Oh, okay. Didn't notice. Is that? So that's not later somewhere, the approval of it? We need to do that right now, not later, right?
It is later.
It is later?
In the item.
I saw it. Now I'm not.
It's under,
It's 6C.
Oh, yep, there it is. Okay. That answers that question.
Motion that we reconvene the regular session, the time being 6:55.
Second.
Okay. Call for the vote. Myself, yes. Eldon?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Dayton? Okay. Now we're on consent agenda items, 5A all the way through down to 6. I motion that we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second it.
Okay. Do we need any discussion? Okay. Call for the vote. Myself, yes. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew? Rhonda?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Okay. I motion that we accept the personnel request in 6 all the way through
Yeah, we can do 6A.
6A.
You gotta just do 6A as listed, yeah.
I motion that we approve the personnel items in 6A. Okay.
so there are several people on here, mostly coaches and volunteers, as you can see.
And 1 resignation.
Yeah.
Call for the vote. Andrew?
Yes.
Dayton?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Eldon?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes. Who seconded that, please?
Dayton?
Dayton.
I motion that we approve the personnel appointments in 6B as presented.
I'll second.
Okay.
These are newer employees that are kind of out of the, not in the system currently. The coaches and aides.
And a couple more substitute teachers.
Yes.
That's great. Okay. Call for the vote. Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda? Eldon?
Yes.
I'll abstain.
Myself. Yes. Dayton?
Yes.
Okay. I motion that we approve the superintendent's evaluation as acceptable.
That's not one of them.
No, that's not one of the choices.
As excellent
Well, there's outstanding, satisfactory. I would go with outstanding.
with outstanding.
Okay.
I'll second outstanding.
Okay. Call for the vote. Myself, yes. Eldon?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Andrew? Dayton?
Yes.
Okay. And the action items, I motion that we approve the pay increase for substitute teachers with an emergency certificate.
I'll second it.
And why are we doing this?
I'll.
Is it minimum wage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
It's $3 a day.
I know, that's why it was like, huh?
Any discussion?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. You're in order. We're gonna, Mr. Mills and I discussed looking at, more later for other people. So this is just the,
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we know, I'm assuming you do, how do we compare to substitutes in Holbrook and Winslow.
Actually, I think he did do a little analysis of this, didn't you, before,
Well, I think
somebody.
the principals, somebody did.
Yeah,
It
I,
was-
I
Because
did,
we have such a hard time getting subs, I'm just curious how we compare.
we're right there. I don't recall it exactly.
It's not that
We're
different.
right on, I think we're right on with Winslow and just a little below what Holbrook does.
So is this putting them at the same pay as the not emergency substitutes and that? And so do we need to trickle the rest of the way up or no?
Not
That-
yet.
That's what we're looking at
Okay.
for
Okay.
one.
Good.
We may in the future want to,
All
do
right.
some more for the other subs.
Isn't it and I'm asking, isn't it an understanding that even though someone gets an emergency substitute, that's only good for so long if they don't take classes?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
And the superintendent has to sign off on any emergency sub. So if you don't have a bachelor's degree, we've got to sign off that it's an emergency that we need to substitute teach, basically.
Okay,
Are the substitutes set at how much education they have as far as their pay? So like a sub that actually has a master's is getting more than a sub that has a
Associates
bachelor's,
or something, yes.
which is more than an emergency, correct?
so when Miss Young comes, she gets more than what we're talking about right here.
Okay, call for the vote. Dayton? Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes,
Sheldon?
Yes.
Myself, yes. I motion that we approve new support staff pay schedule as presented to the $15 an hour for. with
I'll
a
second
bachelor's
it.
degree.
And this is just so if we hire a sub from out in, a tutor from out in the community, and they have a bachelor's degree, we can pay them a little bit more because currently there's not a spot for that. So in order to entice people to come in and tutor for us, who we think would be great tutors, that's what we're asking for this. And we do have somebody in this case right now.
So call for the vote. Eldon?
Yes.
Rhonda?
yes.
Andrew? Dayton?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 7C, I motion that we approve the incentive pay of $50 per person enrolled in the district medical insurance plan.
I'll second it. Now we have discussion. So what are we talking about? I read this earlier.
This is, so this was Mr. Mills' idea. I give him credit for this. Blame. Just
Blame,
kidding.
yeah.
It probably would be, if it's approved, popular with the employees. And I checked with the administration, and they like the idea, as far as I can remember.
I think it's a good idea.
So to get the blood work testing from our insurance, they need a commitment of so many people, the employees that would be willing to get this tested. It comes back with like, 170 different things they screen for, health screening.
So is this like the blood test that you get if you go do your yearly?
Right.
Okay.
It's
But I would say a lot better than that, though. There's a lot of information they tell you just from that, and there's other, Mr. Mills can speak more to it, but then there's other tests that if you want to pay out of pocket, you can have them do it that same time on that. But it's a very good report. I think it'd be good to have our staff to see what's going on.
We haven't done it
What
for a
about
few
this?
years.
When he was
At least 3 years, probably, maybe
Because-
4.
We can't, if people don't sign up.
So this is.
I did it last time, but it's
Yes.
4 years.
And I think, personally, I think we need to do this.
Yep, I'm good.
So it's paying people to come and do it in some manner. So I don't know. We haven't really decided how that $50 would come back to them on a paycheck or off of their insurance, whatever. I don't know if it makes a difference or if you want to specify in your motion. But we need 30 participants.
And
For the
we
middle.
have
that?
we have about 40 enrollees, 42, it varies.
And when they do that, does it affect our premiums at all?
And, if they catch something, I know I've worked in a district where a teacher, it caught, basically saved his life because he had cancer and he didn't know it, and they caught it in time. And of course, that can you know, besides affecting somebody's life,
Right.
it can roll out into your insurance premiums and cause them to shoot up. And so the idea is to help from an economic standpoint.
If you catch it sooner,
Yeah.
then the insurance company's not gonna have to pay out as much.
That's the idea.
So they do give us
Hope.
Right, right,
okay,
right. Yeah.
a what? What did you call it?
I said, hopefully, they give us a
Oh,
break.
hopefully,
There's no promise.
Great. Well, and I mean, our people need that. I think it's the least we can do for them. And I'd hope that that it would be encouraged for everybody to participate.
So if they need at least 30 participants, how many?
Or does it have to be
Well,
people that are?
I know
on
this
the
is probably a bad
insurance
question.
anyway?
How, do we have to have like 75% of our employees to hit 30 or what?
We have about 70.
Well, no, well, the enrollees.
So we need
only
about
have
50.
40, 42.
So this is only for insurance enrollees.
Yes,
So we do need to hit about 70% or so.
yeah.
And if they're not on the insurance plan, they can't utilize that?
Well, spouses can, but they would have to pay for it. But even that, it's still a pretty good deal. It's like, I don't know, $80, $90.
So if they're not on our insurance plan, so if we have an employee that opted out of our insurance, they can't do this?
No. You're correct, uh-huh.
Will they, with the fee, or is that just for spouse? You did send me something that said like $80 add-on for kids or.
Because I would think we would still want, for the rationale for this really is,
And it
we'd
would-
like to help our employees.
Not just the ones.
Why can't we have all of
And
our
not
employees
only
do it
would
if they want
help
to?
the employees, it helps pay for those folks coming and doing the test.
Well, you know, when I had my meeting with them, I thought this was several months ago, and I thought they told me, no, it's only for participants and their families, but I can double check that.
Why don't you check, because this won't happen until the spring, so we have a few months if you approve this, but we could check and then report back to you if we can do what you're asking.
Well, I would prefer it that way because I feel kind of, well, you have insurance, so we're going to pay you $50 to take this test, but you don't have our insurance, so we're not going to have you take the test at all.
Well, maybe it could be $50 off of whatever the cost is to them.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, there you go. That would be a good.
I mean, I would like to see it happens with all of our employees. have
Yeah,
the same
at least
opportunity to
have the
take test.
option.
Let us try and do that.
Should we table this till then?
Well, I think if
We
you
probably need
approve
to
it,
do it so that they can start moving that direction.
yeah, I've got to sign up for it like right away, so, well.
I just always think sometimes when you approve everything, it never gets brought back up and up to the surface again.
You will make sure that you
Sure.
find out and tell us.
Yeah.
Put it on the agenda.
We can put it on at the end of the meeting, we can request that it be on the next meeting too.
Yep.
Okay, so call for the vote. Andrew,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes,
myself, yes. Eldon,
Yes.
Dayton?
Yes.
I motion that we approve the budget revision for F1 20 to, it should be 20 to 21, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Ty.
Okay.
that was a typo.
No second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
As it's agreed that it's 21.
Okay. Any discussion we need to have on it?
Yeah, we could walk through it. Maybe we started this, and I can try and answer any questions. So there was a decrease in enrollment. When we started this year, like Mr. Flake, I remember it was a little bit closer. So things happen, people move, and in a small population like this, the percentages can really start jumping on you one way or another with just a handful of kids. So.
Are we gonna lose, in the past, we lose funding if kids aren't in class enough, if they have too many absences? Is that gonna be taken away too because of the other stuff the state's doing?
No, not that I know of. Right. Good question, because if someone's sick, we're sending them home here. Either
Yeah.
it's COVID or not, we're trying to keep kids.
Or if
Well, even if
somebody
they're
in the
not sick,
family
somebody in their
gets,
families.
So attendance, yeah. So how we should be handling this, and last time I talked with the principals, I believe everyone's on the same page. So if they go home sick, we change them to distance learning, so there's no absence.
Okay.
But we get dinged because they're on distance learning, we don't make as much.
But that was kind of sprung on us probably by the state legislature when they saw that schools were going to get federal funds from COVID. So they made an adjustment to the formula, maybe to save state funding, because they knew, hey, they're still going to make more than they would have. So, and we were afraid that could happen. It sounds like it did. A little bit, 5% of the formula. But yes, you're absolutely right.
That might be something we definitely keep feelers out there for if it's going to happen. That could be a lot of money.
Yeah, it actually is. Let's see.
Not could be.
But I
Something
mean, if
doesn't
they start
change.
taking money from absences, then it would really affect a lot.
Even if something doesn't change from this, we're hurting pretty bad. I mean, as far as we're, no matter how we play the numbers out, we're looking at least 100,000. From what I've seen, 113.9 on my numbers.
And so, yeah, where that's going to hit us is the following year if the trend continues. Right.
So one thing I don't see on here is,
It's going to hit everybody though.
well, due to this, so like, we're doing a lot less traveling athletics and things like that, but I don't see anything in here that reflects
changing the numbers.
that.
That carryover was a result of that.
Well, it's still even this year.
Yeah, this year too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, last year it was just the spring sports. We ended up no spring sports, but this year, like football only had 6 games, and wrestling and basketball. Wrestling's not gonna have any tournaments, and their basketball's only doing like half a schedule. And I mean, that's gotta affect our transportation costs and things, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I don't see it reflected in here.
You might be able to see it some in that summary report that Mr. Mills put together. It's under the first bullet by my report. You look at the budget
Yeah,
column.
we
Unencumbered
usually
funds.
don't.
So it's not
To do
broken
it-
down.
Yeah, to do it at that detailed level would be like a 100-page report, but, we don't, I don't really know what that's gonna be until we get finished here, so we budget a block of money enough to cover it all, and then if it's less, it's less, and great, we move the money someplace else when we're all done and we know what the final cost is gonna be.
So we could tell you, if you want to know specifically what we saved in transportation for football this year, that wouldn't be too
Right.
hard
No,
for us to.
Later,
But all of transportation would be a different report.
but there should be some savings there.
Yes, there is. He has told me we have.
Okay. And then one thing I would like to see, and that's because it just floored me, how much it is for a student. Can we get it at some point? Like a formula for how much a student is, because it makes a difference on
Sure.
how much a student is. And, you know, at one point as a school board, we were going out and saying, well, we should, and it's different now with COVID-19, but we should, basically advertise to see if we can pick up kids from Winslow or Holbrook because students are worth a lot of money, and apparently now they're worth twice as much as I thought they were. So, but I'm just curious.
Right? Do you
Only
know
the
the
healthy
base levels
figure that out.
offhand, Steve?
Only the healthy ones are worth that much.
I was just.
So they have what they call base level support that, that's the start of the formula. And I think that is about 5. It's somewhere in the 5. But that starts the formula, and then the algorithm continues from there, right? But the base level support, or whatever they call that. You don't happen to know.
Well,
offhand.
that's just one little piece of it.
But that's how they start.
Yeah.
So that's the minimum every
It's-
student, except for kindergartners,
Half of it.
generate for the
Half
district.
of it.
Okay, well, it would just be a number that I'm
I thought it might.
interested in and curious to know.
Melvin, it will be, while he's looking over there, it will be hard to give you a set number.
Right, I understand,
You
because
should be able to give you a
depending on the
ballpark.
needs of the students,
'Cause
but there should be a
depending on-
ballpark average.
Yeah, what you have is you have the base support level.
Mhm.
And then if there's special education receiving services,
Right.
then they go up a little more. Some go here, some go way up there.
Right.
Others go a little bit. And then you have the different Title I grants. So as you get more students, and they might add another 800 to that student.
Right, I understand that there's a
Yeah,
whole
so it's
lot.
all,
There's got to be a
But it can't be 11,000 per student.
it used to be, I thought
mean
it was
average, right?
8 or 8.
If you take that, on the adopted budget, the $5,242,903 divided by ADM of about 420, that's $12,483 per student.
How much?
$12,483 per student.
That's a little higher than I remember too, quite frankly, but yeah, that's what the math is adding to. So.
Okay, increase that.
Autistic students generate about 6 or 7 times the regular student.
My kids are worth more than I thought. Just kidding.
Increase the life insurance now, boy.
Global isn't good.
I'm just
I
kidding.
ain't sure I'm that high.
I shouldn't have gone there, sorry.
They're watching you.
But at the
My
same
wife just-
time, as they generate more revenue, that doesn't always offset the cost to provide services to students.
Right, I
That is
get
true.
that.
Just like many things we do here at the school.
If it did offset everything, we wouldn't always have to be talking about how come we're
Exactly.
short on money. I mean, I get that. It should be more.
Yeah, it should.
If you're in a, never mind, I won't go there either.
I just really worry about how are we going to keep this up? I mean, even, APS is shutting down another unit. That means we're going to get less funds from APS, just like we did the previous year, because they're not getting as much off of property tax, which directly involves our bottom line at the school. I think we really need to get pretty strict on our budget and figure this out, and I really don't like seeing it at all. Even though it may be the easiest way to play with it, but I just don't like it. In my mind, I don't like to see it, the difference being made up under salaries and benefits, just because that's the last place we need to play with our money is where
Well, our
best assets.
Remember, we have a more detailed what we call working budget, and that we actually manage from, and what we adjusted for was something that we're required to do by law. Then again in May, it goes back up again.
But even so, I guess maybe I'll explain it this way. I'm thankful I'm not a teacher because I don't get paid enough to make it worth their headaches. But if I was a teacher in this school district and I got a hold of this budget and I looked and said, holy crud, we're losing $289,000 in the district for finances, I think it's time to start looking at other places. That's why I'm saying it's not a very good outlook for anybody to look at and say, how am I going to keep a job if that's where they're playing with the money? That's the last place we want to play with it, in my books. I would say a little bit of a morale. I mean, and then there's no extra, I'm just saying this report scares me, and if I was a teacher, it would scare me. Yeah.
But M&O covers a lot more than just
Because it's such a big expense.
the teachers
Or-
do. It's
But it says
the whole,
salaries, 280, it says it right there in classroom instruction. So what I'm saying is no matter how we come up with it, if an educator looks at this, it may not be the smartest thing for them to have a lot of faith in us right now.
So when we came up with the original numbers, it was based off of last year's enrollment. So, the way to avoid that would be to project for fewer students, I guess.
And I'm just saying,
But I don't know if that might have other consequences.
Well, I understand what Andrew's saying is where we decided to reflect $231,000 of a loss or a change is that we budgeted $1,145,710 for salaries for classroom instruction, and we're revising that down to $914,000, which is $231,252 less. If I'm a teacher and I see that number, I went, Man,
And if we approve it as a board, that's where we just told you to take it out of.
correct.
Where is that? Well, which report?
It's under classroom instruction, number 1, salaries, under regular education, M&O. And over on the thing, it says entire budget decrease is temporarily applied to this category for accounting simplicity. But of all the places to temporarily apply it, under salaries is not necessarily the best place to apply it, because now we're going, well, we're just hoping we're putting that back in.
Gotcha.
Well, when you look at all the other categories, I mean, yeah, whatever, that's fine.
Well, that's, I think what Andrew is trying to say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is I would rather see reflected in every other one just a bit. I realize that would be a little bit harder than in the salaries, and just leave the salaries where they were. But that's, I could
Okay,
be wrong.
gotcha. Yeah, I'm following some.
Like I said, once we approve this, that's where we've directed you to take it out of.
Were you saying that that's where the state directed you to do it?
No, it's an in and out thing. We take it out to meet the requirements of the state. We put it back, immediately put it back in our working budget. So, and I've not had any comments from any staff, and if I were to get them, I would certainly, explain to them what we're doing. I'm not sure that it would be, a real big issue for staff, but, that as long as they come and ask.
And then where are we coming up with the money if we don't get back everything we're hoping for? And we're playing on credit cards. Not trying to refer to the previous, but
No, these are approved these are grants that we've already been,
but not all of it. From what we had to what we have, and then what we're hoping to get.
They're still.
We're hoping, I mean, we're like living that we hope at the end of the year, our company does good enough that we get a bonus.
But this isn't a business. And this has been something real hard for me to understand. In all reality, it's like a big gamble, and the school has to bet on the come. That's all that's
Well,
what it amounts
You're gonna have
to.
to do some bet no matter what, but we've got to tighten our belt also. I mean,
Well, I understand where you're coming from, because you have a black and white business mind, but it's not the same here. Because it's been hard for me to get my mind around this too. I mean, I'm agreeing with you.
You know what I'm saying? It's a solution. Do we have other options to this budget, like was suggested, divide it between some areas?
I would have to redo all the budget forms to do that. I can. It's been my
Is
holiday.
this something that needs to be done now? Can we re-look at
It
it?
has to, yeah. It has to be
January?
done by, December.
Will you know anything more definite in January than you know now?
No.
So we know this, they call it ESG grant. That's COVID funds, and there's another COVID fund that we've been promised. We've been awarded those money, that amount of money.
Well, it says right over here, Andrew, if you look at it, that it's going to be made up or reallocated from carryover from the previous year and from the COVID grant funds. Even if you didn't get any COVID grant funds, he just told us that we had 250,000 carryover from last year. So that does cover that. So as a teacher, you should feel like we're going to at least cover that budget for their salaries. I hope.
That was, there's letters going out to like the governor, and from the Arizona Rural Schools Association, that's the exact thing that was said in a letter.
Governor's problems.
That same thing. They're covering it with carryover from last year. They're declining enrollment on the budget forms. But there are other monies coming in that, we're in good shape for this year.
But we also don't want to count on just the money carryover, because we want to carry money over
Every year.
that
That's
plus
right. That's right.
some more this year.
Because we need to build up our emergency money. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. So as of right now, we either approve this or we don't approve this. And what's the effect if we don't approve this? Does it affect anything?
We'll be out of compliance with the state because we have to, what you're approving is a change in the budget limit. And that's by statute.
Okay. So what if we approved this, but didn't approve it all cut in that area? We approve it cut, split out between all the areas. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, but it's kind of an in and out. I mean, I put it right back in because we've got these other funding.
I'm just
So can
wondering
I-
if we would be more comfortable
Let me see
with
if I
that.
can put this. So is the line that matters is the total aggregate school district budget limit. It used to be 5,800,903. It's being reduced to 5,794,975 for a decrease of 5,928 total.
Yes.
Okay, that's the number that matters. So really, I mean, we're covering some things with some carryover and with the COVID and things like that. It's big numbers that are scary. But we're just basically improving that our budget limit is getting dropped.
Mhm.
Okay.
And all the rest
Because
of
of
the stuff
enrollment, I mean, it's.
Right, I understand that.
And it could, enrollment could go up, or we could gain 7 kids. And
It's
they'll come back
typical
next time and
For
move
us
it
to
up.
do that, right? To plan with the current year numbers. I mean,
And something that everybody has to remember, just like we just approved the large class size stipends, and we have how many buses running out of town, all that changes. So then, even though we're looking at it in this one area, the costs are gonna change in other areas. And that's part of what makes it so involved. Am I right?
Are we ready to vote? Basically, it's just the bottom line is what we're approving, that we're not getting the money. And that it's temporarily taken out of one chunk, but we already have that to replace it. And if all else fails, we use it last year's budget to take care of it until we get the grants or whatever else that the federal government's promised us. That's the bottom line, the gist of it. Okay. Call for the vote, Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
No.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Now we need to discuss any action items that we want to talk about at the next one. Is there any that anybody wants to have on the next board meeting?
we'll have some hiring. We already have one resignation. We'll be on there for January. And then we're talking about workshop to maybe set some goals and look at some mission priorities.
And what did you say about replacing Kathy? You said you wanted to get,
Applicants, a pool of applicants, like people to apply.
and how long are you gonna give that? I mean, I would think that we want it taken care of ASAP.
Yeah, but the sooner the better. Absolutely. We didn't put a closing date on the advertisement, did we? So we could,
Well, what were you thinking? Were you thinking picking somebody by our next meeting so we can approve it?
yeah, but it's a kind of an important decision. So I wanted a committee to do the interviews. And actually, if the board somebody on the board wants to sit in on it, that's fine. Mr. Flakes, is already brought that up. That might be a good move, and I'm fine with that. So sooner the better, but rushing it to,
Oh, I don't mean to rush it. We need it taken care of.
When are you looking at starting interviews?
as soon as we get some applicants.
So we have none so far?
No, I didn't say that. We're hoping to get a few more. We did have one or two.
And where are we advertising that you feel like we're gonna pull people in?
So far, it's on our website. Have we put it in the paper?
Yes.
Where else do you think might work?
Well, I don't know. I'm wondering where you're gonna bring all these people and we can't get substitutes.
We can like the Holbrook or Winslow advertise in their school. I'm kidding. We don't want to steal from our.
You don't, but I.
Bring their kids over.
I think if we give it some time, just a few weeks, hold tight. We can cover with subs, maybe they can't do everything that, Kathy was doing, but it might be able to help ease some workload a little bit. And a couple other things for the next meeting, setting the regular meeting time and dates, and the board officers, like the clerk and president, that's done in January.
Can we, I don't know if we're discussion items or if we're down to requests for future items. So we want to hear about the insurance and whether or not we can get all of our employees doing that.
Yeah.
And then I would also like to find out, I saw something on it, it might have been on one of these, but see if we can get a report on what that law, or wasn't a law, the thing that got passed for the tax that's supposed to help.
Oh, 208?
Yes, thank Prop 208. It's supposed to be bringing extra money into the schools, which hopefully, since we were just talking about having this deficit.
They're saying it wasn't gonna come into like 22.
Okay, that's the information we need to know.
That's what the internet says. We're supposed to start getting the funding is 22. That,
And then
Steve
is
sent me
it
a
gonna be
report on
based
how
on,
much that was going to be, I think. Do you recall that offhand?
based on,
It was an email. I think it was Prop 208.
Danny?
I don't know, I don't know
If
what,
we can just-
how they're basing.
Just for future, I don't need it right now, just for future, so what it means for us, type of thing, and when it starts meaning.
For us?
We're already talking about,
Determine that. For just for teachers.
and it would be nice to know if it's,
1,000.
yeah,
Well, there's a big chunk of
designated to where it has to go to a certain spot, that type of thing.
It is. I remember he sat through a workshop on
Well,
it.
and that's the thing.
It's designated. There's strings attached with this.
Yeah, there's certain, they have so much
Just
for
like
different categories of
VW.
employees.
That VW money.
Which is personally, I think, better than the last way they did it, where they just said, here's money, do whatever you want with it.
And I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
we need one of them buses.
Is there any,
Now, they can't
Got in
complain
there,
about,
got us.
well, it says it has to go there, so that's where it has to go.
So that is a big one. So that, I'm glad you brought that up. And APS has also told us there's going to be some kind of funds in lieu of what they've been paying in taxes that they'll give us, provide to the district. So we're meeting with them and working with them on that, just to help with that transition that we're kind of concerned about.
And while we're on the subject of money coming in, where do we stand with our solar panels?
Where we have, and now we can talk about that more if you want, but we're on a lease, right?
Right, but that might be something you want to catch us up on in the next meeting, is
Sure.
what I was getting up.
So they are paid off by, now these are rough figures, so, but I think it's 2028, 2029, right in there. And at that point, the money that they generate will go straight to the district. But until then, it's a wash, basically. And there is some degradation on the panels that happen every year, about 1% of their value of what they produce. But it's a wash until that point. But if the district wanted to spend funds to pay those off sooner, because there were funds, we would see those savings back. That could be a smart move to make. We would have to analyze that. If we pay them off sooner. Roughly, it was over $200,000 a year in energy savings once they're paid off.
but they also maintain them, which,
Yeah, but we know exactly what that is. It's not nearly,
Yeah.
but we'll.
It's not
it'll
as
be-
involved as it,
Yeah,
yeah, you would think.
and I think there's just people that could service them. We don't have to go with this specific company.
And,
Yep.
and once we've paid them off,
Right. No.
but until we pay them off, we got to go with them.
Do they keep them?
We could get out if we wanted, yeah.
Huh?
It's part of the deal.
Do they
That's
keep
what I
them
meant,
cleaned and
yeah.
stuff?
Huh?
Do they keep them cleaned or anything?
Yes, they monitor them very closely because we're promised to wash every year.
Because and here you do, you get dust on them a lot, and a little bit of dust brings it way down.
Yeah.
So keeping them cleaner makes a big difference.
So there's a wash two ways.
Mhm.
It's actually when we put them in, so it was promised that the savings and the cost
Yeah,
would not,
yeah, and we've dealt
it
with
would be
that too.
even.
Has that promise been kept?
Yeah, it's through, yes, it has. We had to kind of force it a couple of times, but yes.
That's what I mean. Did they refund our enforcement too?
I don't remember exactly how that
believe-
ended up, but yes,
I
it's
believe
been
that was the
enforced.
case.
Yeah.
They
Hold on.
did, I believe.
I can't really speak to that. I'd have to check. Probably not.
I know we were happy with the outcome.
Yeah.
I remember that. Because we were really upset, and then when it was all settled, we were happy with it.
Yeah.
Because one of the problems, if we keep dropping, no, we'll stay out of it. We'll get more facts.
Those are good points and good questions. I know you probably don't want to stay here all night, so maybe we'll save them for later, but I'm on to what you're saying, and I've learned through this process, and if you don't monitor it closely every year, they will take advantage of you. I think, not any specific company, but it can happen in these long-term arrangements because you have turnover in staff and so many numbers, and it's basically forensic accounting to make sure it's, you really have to dive into some of this stuff to make sure it's coming out like it's supposed to. It's unfortunate, but that's what I've learned from it. I've learned that our arrangement was a little bit longer than typical schools too. Frankly, so ours was 15 years, I think, and a lot of times it's half that.
So the items for the next board meeting, at least that I got, the insurance, the 208 and solar to put on the next board. Was there anything else that we wanted on there? Okay.
Person. It just occurred to me that this lady's been here for 32 years. It would be a good time before we interview someone else to make sure that the job description is updated from 32 years ago for that hiring. And the aptitude and skills are prerequisite prior to the
That's one of the things we approved tonight.
Yeah,
It was in the
Yeah.
consent agenda stuff. It's done.
it's in there.
Good observation. That's very true. Now that back on the solar, I don't know if January we get a report and it's a calendar year. So they usually send us one this month, or sometimes we don't get it until January. So it might be good to wait for that and then break that down at the workshop too, or we could do it in a board meeting, however you guys want to do it.
Well, if we don't have that data, then let's move it again until we do.
That's what I think, yeah.
But if we do, let's go ahead and do it.
That would be good.
So I motion that we close the meeting, the time being 7:37.
Second.
Okay, Eldon gets the second.
That's quicker.
Dayton,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Eldon,
Yes.
myself, yes. God, the next board meeting.
Oh,
I
well.
skipped that.
Oh,
They'll figure it out.
It's already there. It's all right.
It's there.
Yeah.
Now I can do this.
Thank you all for
all of us, everyone, click your Bix.
Get it out of your system for the next.
Oh, I haven't.
Get it out of your system. See if it'll last.
This is so work though while I'm working.
you.